Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Magnum Martell, and welcome back to another video. And a few days ago, I made a video recounting that Troy Leaviett, the developer of Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy, has left Avalanche Studios. Now, I and a great many others, and by a great many others, I mean pretty much everybody on the face of the internet, was pretty much all in the same boat of, so what you're telling me is that he got fully canceled and he lost his job because the social justice warriors and the games journalists attacked him for having an anti-social justice YouTube channel. Well, great. Another victory for them. Well, Troy produced a little tweet stating that he had left and that he would explain why in a video later that week. Well, here we are. It's next week. He's a little late, but Troy has produced a video. It's around 20 minutes long. I've cut out a lot of the fluff parts that we don't really need, and we're going to take a look at his video, and I'm going to tell you guys what I think. So let's just jump straight into it and not waste any more time. Now, we start off here with a little announcement that it's part of a Zoom call, so the quality is really low. He talks a little bit addressing the people at Avalanche. He makes a joke about how Slytherin being the best house. I mean, he's right. He definitely is. I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, and I know that. But then he says that he's going to hit us with another PowerPoint, and he describes what he's doing and the way he's keeping things organized. So I'm just going to show you the clip here, and we're going to talk about it. Now, I am going to be giving you guys timestamps to keep track of where I'm at here because I skip over a lot of things that he does, but this is still going to be a long one because he does talk about a lot of things. So this first clip starts at 50 seconds and ranges to 2 minutes 30 seconds.
All right. Well, I also realized that before I left, I didn't get to speak to all of you, and there were many questions, I think, that were left unanswered. So I hope you don't mind if I make this short little video kind of hitting the top line of some of those questions, and then I'll allow some other folks to listen in because I imagine that they have some of the same questions. So with that in mind, I'm now going to hit you with another PowerPoint. Okay, so I know your time is precious, so I made an agenda, just 4 points here. That I think probably hit the main issues. Why did I resign? How did the articles impact that? What do I believe now? And then what's next for me? So let's go ahead and get started and hit that first big one. Why did I resign? Okay, so first I need to acknowledge the logical inference here. I can see how people would make a connection between the timing of the press articles and my decision to resign. I mean, it makes total sense, right? But I also want to assure everybody at the studio that the letter that was read in the all-hands meeting is indeed accurate. As a refresher, here's the body of that letter. It reads, "Please accept my resignation from my position with Avalanche and WB Games, effective March 12th, 2021. I feel it is important to note that I leave with only the warmest of feelings towards both the Avalanche team and the WB organization. I greatly appreciate all the efforts they have made in supporting my move to Nevada and helping me to work through a difficult situation with my family. Unfortunately, things on that front have seriously deteriorated since the beginning of February of this year. I now see the situation as chronic and likely to be high maintenance into the foreseeable future. I do not believe that I will be able to take care of the family issues in my life while still giving the project the care and attention it deserves. That being said, I will continue to cheerlead Hogwarts Legacy from the sidelines as I wish for it to be gloriously successful. More so, I truly believe that it will be."
All right, now this is something we didn't know before, was that he had actually turned in his resignation letter before these articles had actually started popping up and the journalists started attacking him for what he had done. So given all of that, I'd say that that's pretty important. That's something that is definitely of value here because what it tells us is that he was already planning to leave due to his family situation that he discussed here in this article, and the whole team at Avalanche had seen this resignation letter that had been sent to the management. This is a good thing. What this tells me is that Troy was already planning to leave on his own, and that these articles started just before that time. Now, it doesn't mean there wasn't a mole who told the journalists about it. I think that's something we should keep an eye out for. And that doesn't mean that he didn't see it coming and planned to leave before anything started, but all the same, that's a pretty important piece of information that we didn't have before. Now, he talks a little bit about his family life and what was going on in his life during this time between moving to Nevada and getting married and a few other things and the trip back and forth to stay on the team and continue working on the game. That stuff's not really important, but what is important is what he leads into, where he talks about WB Games knowing about his channel. So let's take a look at that there.
That was all before these articles dropped. But that lets you know the position I was in. I also want to make sure that everybody understands how WB Games has interacted with me, and I want to give them some praise. First of all, they helped me through all this transition down here to Southern Nevada and were very supportive through all that. Also, they really did review my videos back in 2018 when I first joined Avalanche. And at that time, they were clear that they said, well, this does fit within our social media policy, but we don't endorse anything you've said here, which was fine, right? I was comfortable with that. I was just happy that they were willing to allow me to keep my videos up. Also, as part of my disclosure to them, I indicated that I may continue to make videos even while I was employed. And you can see that 2 of the videos in the list actually happened since my time of employment at WB Games. So they stood by their word through all of this. And then even after all the articles dropped, they did not in any way pressure me to retire. Not in the least.
All right. This is big, actually. This is really fucking important right here. WB Games knew about his videos and his channel. They knew about the content that he made. They knew about the things that he said. And the only thing they told him after seeing them and looking through them was that they don't endorse it, but there's no problem. He didn't have to delete any of them. 2 of them were made while he worked there. There was no problems whatsoever. They just said that they don't endorse it. And that's fine. They don't have to endorse it. There's nothing about that. There's nothing wrong with them not endorsing it. But the fact that they didn't try to make him get rid of it, that's a good thing. That reflects well on them. Now, my opinion, I know after this video, now that this video is out, the articles and attacks are probably going to continue, and they're probably going to focus on WB Games now, because the journalists are going to hear that part, and they're going to go, Ree, we need to attack them! Ree, they agreed with him! Ree, they didn't get it! Oh god, that hurts my throat. But either way, so keep an eye out for that, because I guarantee you that's going to be the next step in their long-term goal plan here. But WB Games, I got to commend you for that one. You did the right thing. All right, next up, he jumps into the discussion about the articles themselves.
All right, so let's talk about these press articles and how they figure into the picture. So the first thing that I noticed that I thought was interesting about the situation, and maybe a bit concerning, is that there was no instigating incident here. I had no accusations of misconduct, no criminal behavior, no HR scandal. I didn't even issue a mean tweet. The articles that were written were concerned purely with the civil expression of supposedly wrong ideas and opinions from 3 to 5 years ago. So when people ask me, was this cancel culture? Well, to me, it sure feels like it. I also noticed that some people said, oh, no, it's not cancel culture at all. This is just consequences for your past actions or some such thing. But even in that case, as ominous as consequences sounds to me, wouldn't that be predicated on accurate reporting? Which brings me to the next point. So I don't know, when I was in school, there used to be something called Journalism 101, where you needed to be a responsible journalist. So on the responsible side of things, you would expect the articles to be fact-checked, or if there were issues, to be specific accusations and some supporting evidence, and that they might provide counterpoints to those accusations or evidence. However, if these were indeed propaganda pieces, well, then the narrative would be more important than the facts. There wouldn't be any accusations. Instead, there'd just be vague labels, kind of smearing of what I am supposed to be all about, with no supporting evidence, I might add, and that they would be very one-sided. This is how these articles look to me. And I also think it may be worthwhile to take a look at the propaganda techniques that I listed there on Wikipedia. In any case, that's how it felt to me, that this was more propaganda than anything responsible for these.
All right. Now, he says that there was no inciting incident that would lead these people to want to attack him. But Troy, what you need to understand here, my man, is that there doesn't need to be. They don't care if there's an inciting incident. They don't care if they have a reason to attack you. Like you said afterwards, it was merely an expression of what they consider to be, quote, the wrong ideas. That's all they need. They will attack you for expressing the wrong ideas. I myself have been attacked and threatened by not specifically games journalists, but people who support them, people who are like them, the social justice types. And, you know, it sucks. Because all it takes is you not agreeing with them and they will flip the fuck out and scream and yell and get butthurt about it. It really does fucking suck. But there's nothing we can do about it. And like you talk about here at the end here, where you go into how journalistic integrity is supposed to be about fact, not opinion. It's more like propaganda. That's what it is. It's fucking propaganda. You of all people should know this. I don't know why you're a little late to the party here. I understand you're trying to take a neutral standpoint and say that's what your opinion it is, but your opinion is fucking fact here. You're absolutely right. It's propaganda. They are attacking you and shifting the narrative so other people won't be inclined to agree with you. They have been doing this for years. They've been doing this since 2014. That is what Gamergate was about. It was about ethics in journalism and these assholes not attacking us. Lo and behold, it was made to be a boogeyman. As for the whole freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence thing, I've been meaning to do an entire Magnum's rants on that, and I will touch more on it when I get there. But I don't agree with it. I'm a free speech absolutist, ladies and gentlemen. That means I believe that anyone has the right to say anything, whatever they want. Yes, even these absolute fucking imbecile journalists. If I ran into Jason Schreier in the street and he started screaming at me about how bigotry is a problem in the gaming industry, I'm probably going to let him talk. But I'm going to tell him that I disagree. And I think he's actually the one in the wrong. And then, from there, how he responds to that dictates how I'm going to continue. I will never tell anyone that they're not allowed to speak. I might tell them to shut the fuck up for a minute and fucking listen, use their ears instead of their mouth, use their brain instead of their ass. But, I would never tell anyone they're not allowed to speak. And I don't believe that words should have consequences in that case. The term freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. It's simply used by these people to attack freedom of speech and keep you from saying what you feel and believe. So you have to bend to them. They believe that you should be punished if you say the wrong thing. That's not how freedom of speech works. I believe that you should be allowed to say whatever the hell you want, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. You want to call someone the N-word to their face? Well, I'm not going to fault them for punching you in the head. I'm not going to fault them for grabbing a fish and slapping you across the face with it. But I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that. I'm just going to say you probably shouldn't do that. That's the difference. Absolute. There's actually a comment down here on your video that says, so this is just a thought, but if the First Amendment was applied the way they want, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence, that would mean freedom of press does not mean freedom from consequence. Because freedom of press is filed under free speech. And you know what? I agree with that. We should start using that as our weapon against them. From now on, we're going to play by their rules, and we're going to use their own methods against them. We're going to win this fucking war the way we should have won it years ago. By taking what they do and fucking it all sideways just to get to them. So from now on, freedom of press does not mean freedom from consequence, motherfucker. I agree with that. Let's fucking do it their way. Let's go. All right, I just wanted to include that little tidbit, my own little mini rant there, and that bit about the comment, because I actually agree with that person's thought process. That's pretty good. He's a smart guy. We should listen to him. All right, let's move on to the next segment here. Now, I'm not going to show it to you, but Troy takes a little bit to give his defense, where he mentions that they made it sound like he is just the head of the project, even though he's not. He was just the lead designer. He was just a senior producer on the project. He didn't have absolute power. It was a team of people working together, and that's pretty important because that's something that they didn't check, and he literally shows us that they could have checked it with one tweet. He talks about some of the labels. We all know what the labels are: alt-right, anti-feminist, Nazi, bigot, racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, blah, blah, fucking blah. We've all heard them 1,000 times. They do this because they need to attack you and make you look like the worst person ever so that everyone will just agree. Otherwise, they would also be labeled. That's what they do. We all know it. We've talked about it for years. I've discussed it multiple times. I don't think we need to waste any more time on it. Let's continue.
And then lastly, there are the videos themselves. And in the articles, they kind of just allude to them and try and suggest what might be in them. But as far as I can tell, they didn't watch any of them. My defense of John Lasseter is certainly not a defense of sexual harassment in any way. Quite the contrary. It's like, I think he did some wrong things, but now he's willing to make amends. let's give this guy a chance and try to forgive him. So it's a defense of forgiveness. For some reason, people seem concerned about my comments on saving The Last Jedi. But as you all know, I had done 4 playsets prior on Disney Infinity, and the 5th was supposed to be The Last Jedi. And so I was very interested in the script, and that particular video isn't at all some attack on Johnson or the movie itself. It's more just like, how would I have tweaked the script to make it more acceptable to fans? I do have various critiques of feminist frequency. I don't really want to get into all of this, only to point out that the videos themselves refute the accusations. And then on the other hand, there's a whole bunch of videos that they never even mention that I think would serve to kind of exculpate me from the defamatory labels. The Joy of Wrong is one. The Games Lead the Way video, that's the one where I spoke about how character creation can help to address issues of diversity inclusion in games in a very kind of non-confrontational, easy way to get into. There's the video on Shapiro's excluded middle. Anybody who thinks I'm far right, well, in that video, I'm criticizing Mr. Shapiro's positions on abortion and on transgender issues and on religious morality. And then there's all these other videos I had on pantheism, religion, net neutrality, Black Mirror. I did that underground press from Venezuela on game development, the rise of AI. Heck, I've even got a video on poetry. The videos themselves seem to undercut what the articles were trying to say about me.
All right, now that was a bit of a long one, but Troy talks a little bit about his videos. And while last week in the video I made about the situation, I said that I hadn't started watching Troy's videos yet. Since then, I've been going through the catalog of videos that Troy has available. It's very rare for me to actually be able to have time to sit down and do these things. I'm usually doing it while I'm eating my dinner. But this week, I've been sitting down and taking some notes and talking about it. I thought about maybe producing a video defending Troy a little bit more. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that yet, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. My point is that Troy talks here a little bit about his videos and the content that is in them, and how that content would completely, pretty much destroy the narrative, tear it down, and show that no, he's not these things that they say he is, and that he doesn't think that they watched his videos at all. To which all I have to say is, Troy, you've clearly been a part of this for a while. You've clearly been on our side. You've clearly watched these people do these things. You literally addressed Anita Sarkeesian herself. You know these people don't watch your videos. They don't care. They're not going to watch your videos because they don't need to create the narrative. It is about multiple people creating the same narrative by publishing the same nonsense to push it so that people will agree. Because the majority of people are going to see that and not look into it and just go at you anyway. That's what they want. They don't watch your videos. They didn't watch your videos. They will never watch your videos. I have been watching your videos. I know that you're not these things that they label you as. We all know that you're not these things that they label you as. But they're going to continue to label you until they think they're going to win. Until they get what they want. Which is to get rid of you, me, and everyone else who doesn't agree with their blatant bullshit. Unfortunately, Troy, you can't approach these people with logic. And it fucking sucks. It really does. Because they're just going to attack you and ignore it anyway. They didn't watch your videos. They didn't care to look into these things because they don't need to. It's to push a narrative, not to push the fact. And to my viewers here, I highly suggest you actually do sit down and watch some of Troy's previous videos. Because I have to say, Troy, you're a beautiful man. You are a fucking champion. You are a fucking hero. And I enjoyed watching the ones that I have had the time to watch. I still intend to continue watching the rest. And you know what? I hope now that you've retired from WB Games, I hope you come back in and make more videos on the subject. I hope you continue to do what you were doing here on your channel. I really do. You make good stuff. You are a good content creator. You are making the right kind of content. And there's nothing wrong with the way you've made it or the things you've done and said. Please continue to make more. All right, let's move on.
At this point, I think it's a good time to mention that while I was going through all this, I took a look at YouTube to see what the sentiment was out there. And I recognized that it was pretty positive. And so I wanted to note that I really appreciated the support of both the big and the small channels. And one of the things that I believe is that while big channels are really great for boosting the signal, if you want to know how people really feel about things, pay attention to the small channels. because they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for the passion because of what they believe in. I also appreciated the informed criticism because some people did start watching the videos and then started taking them apart. And I'm like, good, engage with my videos, please. I don't mind being criticized. In fact, as I say in The Joy of Wrong, to recognize that you are wrong is to have learned something. And the only way that you can know that you are wrong is to engage with opposing ideas. So, now that I think you have an idea of how bad I think this journalism was, what would a responsible press do? What would their response be? Well, I think they would issue corrections, maybe retractions, maybe even apologies. However, if the press is more inclined towards propaganda, I suspect they would double down. Maybe they would start blaming me or others for what they've done. They may misdirect or malign both myself or those who have supported me. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
All right, so Troy talks a little bit about the sentiment he's been getting from creators big and small. He shows even some of my favorite creators on there, like Upper Echelon and Vera Dark. And you know what? Props to you for acknowledging and taking a look at some of the content was made. Troy, I hope you saw my video on the subject because you still continue to have my full support, especially now after producing this video. And you know, he's absolutely right. If you want to get the information, look at the big channels. But if you want to know how people really feel, look at the small channels who are in it for the passion, who are in it because they actually give a damn and they want people to know how they feel about it. That's exactly why I do what I do. And yes, absolutely, a real journalist, the real press would turn around and reevaluate their information, say, hey, we didn't get all the information, we were wrong, we cared more about the emotion rather than the facts, admit to being a bunch of fucking assholes, and then correct and give the real information. But these people won't do that. No, instead, they're going to do exactly what Troy expects them to do. They're going to double down, blame others, and continue to attack, because that's what they always do. Or they're going to take the loss and step away from it and pretend it never happened. Give them the old Jedi hand wave and just go, nothing ever happened here. You didn't see anything.
So these are llamas. So a llama is a domesticated South American camelid, and it's widely used as a meat and pack animal by Andean culture since the pre-Columbian era. Now, llamas are very social animals and live with others as a herd. Their wool is very soft and lanolin-free. So what is it that I do believe? Well, you know, right before all these articles dropped, I was celebrating on Twitter the landing of the Perseverance robot on Mars. And I thought that was fantastic. In fact, I didn't see that as an accomplishment of any one group or demographic. You know, it's not white men who are doing this. No. I saw it as something that the entire species took part in. And that's very much how I view the world. I think that it's time for us to grow up and get past being so tribal over such petty things as our demographics, whether we're, you know, white or black, male or female, gay, straight, trans, it doesn't matter. In my view, we should be trying to minimize our tribalism instead of building walls around ourselves based on such shallow demographics. We should be building bridges to one another. And then I recognize, in my view, that the smallest minority, the minority most worthy of protection, is the individual. And that's how I tend to see the world altogether. I see it like we're all notes in the grand symphony of humanity. Everybody has a part to play. It doesn't matter what your background is, you add to the richness of that symphony. And I think we can learn from one another and learn from each other's lived experiences while still celebrating that we are all of the same species. So that's my opinion on that.
That was probably my favorite part of this entire video. I'm not going to lie to you. That part was absolutely fucking beautiful. He got a little funny there with a sudden shift from the serious tone to, so these are llamas. And then he turned it into something beautiful by using it as a metaphor. I wish I had the capacity to do something like that. I really do, but I am not good enough with my own words to be able to do that. And I really enjoyed that part. Thank you, Troy. That made me smile. Sir, you should have been a poet. Alright, so next up we're going to get a little more serious again, and he's going to talk about J.K. Rowling herself and the situations that have involved her controversies for the past year.
Which in turn leads to the J.K. Rowling conundrum. As I think many of you know, I am a strong trans rights supporter. I am hoping to build bridges of understanding between the different communities. But what about what J.K. Rowling has to say? Well, my thought is first, you should read her statement very carefully. I would advise that you don't let others do your thinking for you. Now, when I read it, I see that there are points where I disagree and points where I can see her reasoning. So when I read J.K. Rowling's position, I see that she's expressing herself in a calm and reasonable manner. And she even provides explanations for why she thinks the way that she does. She's worthy of conversation, not cancellation. I see a potential bridge there. And I also see, because she took the time to write this, where I would initiate that conversation. So I appreciate what she's done there as well.
I don't think I need to say anything more about the J.K. Rowling thing than Troy already has. I wholeheartedly agree with him there. Let's just move on right past it and go on to the final part. Now, I'm not going to show you the footage here because it's not as important, but Troy essentially puts the video in closing. For the next couple minutes, he talks about him and what's next for him. He says that he is comfortably retired and he has no intention of returning to the video game industry. That's sad. It's a shame, but you know what? Retirement is a good thing, especially for a man Troy's age. There's nothing wrong with that. I've accepted that I'm never going to retire in my lifetime. So, good on you, Troy. Good on you for being able to comfortably say that you're happy with what you've done and that you're going to be able to just live without doing a job. You know, when you work your whole life away, you deserve to sit down and finally relax. And I think Troy has definitely earned that. He talks a little bit about maybe becoming an indie dev, where he starts making his own independent games, passion projects. I wholeheartedly support that. I could get behind that. You know, I might not be a big fan of most indie games. Most of the ones that come out I don't really care for, but every once in a while there's a gem among them. And even the ones I don't like, I'll still support the developer as long as they're still making good games and they're not just in it for the money. And you know what? I support that. He talks a little bit about writing his next book, and then he talks about the book that he's already written. I might actually check it out now because I'm interested. It's a high fantasy. I like high fantasy stuff. He gives a little playful joke toward the guys at Avalanche, the people that he worked with, about he bets he can finish his next book before they finish the game and get it pushed out there. Now, it's not really relevant to us. But okay, in closing, I'm going to be totally honest about it. I'm with Troy on this one. He has my support. I'm glad he made this video. I didn't mean to ramble on for almost 30 minutes about this whole thing, but I wanted to dissect all of it. I don't like doing videos over 25 minutes if I don't have to, but I felt like it was necessary, and if I had any way to shorten it, I would. Troy has my support. Troy, I'm glad to know that you didn't actually get canceled. I still think that the attacks on you might have had something to do with your decision, but I can't blame you for stepping back and caring about your family rather than worrying about the whole thing going on with WB Games and Harry Potter. I'm glad you made this video, and I recommend everyone go and watch it. I have posted down in the description box below a link to the video. You can also find it pretty easily just by searching for it. And that's all I have to say about it. Social justice warriors, take your L on this one. Step back and walk away, because you fucking lost. This took way longer than I hoped it would, and I apologize that I used a variety of different games for background footage here. I just wanted to keep changing what you were seeing as I was talking, because what's going on when I'm talking isn't as important as what Troy himself had to say. But I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. My name is Magnum Martel, and I will see you in the next video.